Hey there, special educators. Welcome to Autism Academy 360, a podcast to making your job as special education teachers easier. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Abby, a behavior specialist. And together, we have over 25 years of special education experience.
And I'm a veteran autism teacher. We both are passionate about empowering you with practical teaching strategies and actionable tips and tricks that will help you thrive in your role.
Whether you're a seasoned educator looking for fresh insights, a newbie navigating your first classroom, or a parent of a neurodivergent child, this podcast is your go-to resource for all things autism.
So let's get started with today's episode. Hey there, special educators, and welcome back to another episode of Autism Academy 360. I'm your host, Lisa Holliday, and today let's chat about one of my favorite tools in the classroom, adapted books. If you're anything like me and constantly looking for creative ways to engage your students, you know that reading can sometimes feel like a puzzle we're just trying to solve together. Adapted books have been a game changer for about almost a decade, and I want to share not just what they are, but also how you can make them work for your students in any classroom. So first, let me tell you, I have created over 100 different adapted books for my classroom, ranging from seasonal favorites like pumpkins to everyday things like going grocery shopping. These books aren't just teaching tools, they're bridges to independence, understanding, and pure joy for students. So what the heck are adapted books? Adapted books, or modified interactive books, are like the Swiss Army knives of special education. They are packed with features that help students who struggle with traditional reading. Here's what makes them so magical. Number one, the visual supports. Think about pairing words with pictures, symbols, or icons. For example, in one of my animal-themed books, I match photos of lions and zebras with the words. This helps kids connect the text with what they love. Number two, interactive components. Ever seen a student light up with sticking Velcro pieces on the right answers? My books have movable parts, like matching mittens to a winter scene, that keeps hands busy and minds engaged. Number three, sensory elements. Using the Velcro pieces gives students that sensory input that they are seeking. These little things make reading a full sensory experience, especially for those tactile learners. Number four, repetitive patterns. I often repeat phrases like I see or I feel to kind of build that confidence. One of my Thanksgiving books say, I see a pumpkin, I see a turkey, and so on. So using predictable text helps students feel successful. And then I have books that also increase the difficulty level. Individualization. So whether it's a book about dinosaurs for one student or a princess themed book for another student, customization is key. I really adapt the content to fit IEP goals and student interests. So you might be asking, okay, Lisa, how do I even use adapted books in my classroom? Let's talk strategy. Here's how adapted books have really transformed learning in my room. Number one, building vocabulary. For example, in my Community Helpers book, each page shows a worker and their tools, like a chef with a spatula or a construction worker with a hammer. Visuals really help students match words to pictures, making that vocabulary stick. And I have a lot of speech therapists who often borrow these books to work on those skills. Number two, boosting comprehension. I often include questions in my books. So, for example, in a weather-themed book, I asked, what do you wear in the rain? Students select the raincoat picture and place it on the page. This is a great way to check for understanding. So I also have so many different worksheets to go along with each adapted book, and things like a cut and paste worksheet or reading or vocabulary matching. I have really so many different worksheets to go with each book. Number three, encouraging independence. Adapted books give students ownership of their learning. Some of my books are simple enough for students to just explore on their own, while others require just a little bit of support. And what's great about these adapted books is once they've had the opportunity to learn and explore them and or master them, you can put them in their book bins or in your classroom library so that other students or that student can have continued opportunities to kind of view and look through these books, giving them even more independence. And progress monitoring. These books are sneaky little assessment tools. I often use them to track how often students can match items correctly or answer comprehension questions without prompting. So one of my favorite ways to use these books is using them in centers. So for example, I'll say pumpkins. We're going to use a pumpkin book for October. So I use adapted books about pumpkins or jack-o'-lanterns or trick-or-treating or falling leaves or whatever it is, right? Then I have interactive activities to go along with that. So students can match the faces with the pumpkins or learn how a pumpkin grows from seed to pumpkin, or they can practice vocabularies with Velcro word cards and whatnot. After reading, we often will make a craftivity that I have included in these units, or we do running records. We also have comprehension quizzes that the students can use as well. So I just have so many different things that I use with these adapted books. I know other people on the internet often have adapted books, but there's nothing to go with them. That's why I wanted to create my own, because I was so sick of having these books and then having to create something on my own. So I have created like a 50-page PDF to go along with those books. Also, if you're like, Lisa, that is way too much work, who has time for that? I have teacher friends who did not do that. They printed them and they did a lot of cut and paste activity. Now, if you're going to do it this way, normally it's just like a one and done. You usually can't do it over and over and over again. But it was really cool that she showed me pictures of the students doing this in the classroom where they had the book and the adapted pieces to go in them, but instead of Velcroing them, the students were cutting them out and gluing them to the correct page. So they were a one and done, but they get to bring them home and they get to share the work that they did at school that day. They really open doors for students who may otherwise struggle with traditional reading, making the experience interactive and engaging and meaningful. Trust me, once you see a student light up while flipping through a book they can truly connect with, you'll be hooked too. Once you have them laminated and ready to go, they last forever. I have books in my filing cabinet that I have had for almost a full decade. They last forever, and I love it so much. I have short story adapted books. I have vocational adapted books. I have life skills adapted books. I have created easy adapted books. I've created themed adapted books. I love adapted books so much that I have created one for almost every different use you can think of. Let's talk about how you can use them in the classroom. Adapted books are really versatile. So here are some additional ideas that you can use. Number one, you can use them for homework extension. So sending home adapted books can sometimes bridge that gap between school and home learning. And I know what you're thinking, Lisa, I would never, do all of that time just to send them home. But honestly, if you trust the student and you trust the parents to bring them back and treat them well, send them home. Students would love to show parents what they're doing at school. Number two, one-on-one instruction. So adapted books are perfect for that target, individualized instruction that really work on specific IEP goals, right? Number three is speech therapy support, which I've already said before, but honestly, I used to have my speech therapist kind of steal these books, and they also use them for working on those WH questions like who has stripes, or adding, core vocabulary to their AAC devices so they can work on things like want, like, or see. You can also use them for morning work or things that they do as soon as they walk into the room. So these can be a calming and productive way to kind of start their day. Number five is choice time. So make adapted books part of your classroom's free choice. You want them to kind of gravitate to reading when they have downtime. So having those out and available really helps facilitate that. Number 6 is small group instruction. So incorporating adapted books into that small group rotations, using them for reading groups is really helpful as well, because my adapted books that I have, you can also do a paper book that students in the Gen Ed setting could use, and then the same book is in the adapted version for your other student. So you can differentiate using those as well. Number 7 is behavioral support and calming strategies. I have a couple books on calming strategies that I often use in my calming corner or any kind of de-escalation tool that you're going to need. Number 8 are functioning skills. Using adapted books to teach real-world skills in a practical, engaging, fun way is really, really cool. Let's say I created the book, How to Wash Your Hands, using those visuals and interactive prompts really helps students understand that. Then last but not least are assessment tools. So using these books to create a way for us to kind of test them, but not formally test them, really assess how they are doing with their reading and or other IEP goals that you want to work on. So with these strategies, adapted books become more than just reading tools. They're flexible, engaging resources that meet your students where they are and help them grow. So thanks so much for tuning in with this episode. Until next time, guys, bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Autism Academy 360. We hope that you've gained some tips and motivation to fuel your week ahead.
Before you go, don't forget to hit that follow button on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. If you want to show support, head to Apple Podcasts and leave your rating and review.
Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and most importantly, stay connected. We'll catch you in the next episode.